Good evening. I'm J. Lenora Bressler, and welcome to the May 19th, 2022 edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. The book of James is possibly the earliest of all the letters. James was the half-brother of Jesus, and he was not a believer while Jesus was doing his earthly ministry, but somehow, when your brother comes back from the dead, maybe you become a believer, and he did, and he became the leader of the Jerusalem church, and a very good leader. It was he who, along with Peter and John, really shaped the famous Council of Jerusalem. This was the coming together in 49 AD of the early church in Jerusalem that basically said, yes, we need to go out among the Gentiles. James, the book of James, is a very practical book. It really sounds a lot like Proverbs in that it's a lot of short kind of instructions for how to live a godly life post-Christ, in the aftermath of Christ's death and resurrection. James is very clear. He believes that faith is demonstrated. Faith, of course, is something that is internal to a person. You can't say what someone's faith is, but you can certainly say that their behavior is indicative of faith or not. It's from James that we get that famous line, faith without works is dead. Now, he does not mean at all that you work your way into salvation, but he is saying quite clearly that if you are indeed a faithful person, then that's going to be evidenced in the way you behave. And he really is very strong about that. He doesn't have a lot of truck with people that try to just, pass it off or excuse or justify their behavior. Once you know Jesus Christ, then your life should testify to it. I love the way James 3:13 is sometimes translated. Listen to this translation. If you consider yourself to be wise and one who understands the ways of God, advertise it with a beautiful, fruitful life guided by wisdom's gentleness. Never brag or boast what you've done, and you'll prove that you are truly wise. In other words, the yapping doesn't mean nothing unless you back it up, baby. It makes me think about, the old joke about the husband and wife where the wife or the husband is like, okay, I appreciate the love letters. I appreciate you saying how much you love me. Now take out the trash, please show it as well. There's also another wonderful statement, I think, in James that I want to bring to your attention tonight. And it's from James chapter 4, verses 1 to 2. And when I read it, it arrested me because it is so like something that I actually teach in my conflict resolution curriculum. It says, "What is the cause of your conflicts and quarrels with each other? Does not the battle begin inside you as you fight to have your own way and fulfill your own desires?" A lot of times I teach that there are 4 stages to how you should prepare to go and have a confrontation. And when I talk about confrontation, I don't mean it like this. I mean a confrontation is where you bring an issue up to somebody solely for the purpose of influencing future action. And in that context, it's a very good thing. It's a very helpful thing. It's a very responsible thing to go and have that profitable confrontation. But the very first stage I always teach is, I say, in preparing yourself for that encounter, the first thing is you need to explain the conflict, whatever it is, in as simple and as non-judgmental, objective language as possible. And what many times people find, and I know it is so true for me almost 90% of the time, my problem is not out there. It's not with you. It's really in here. It's something I'm not happy with about myself, my own life, my own frailty, my own weaknesses. And rather than, look inside myself and say, this issue is really not out there. It's so much easier to lash out and look outside of yourself. James is saying that too. He's saying when we have conflicts, especially with fellow believers, but really probably any human being, you should ask yourself first, is my problem really out there or is it in here? And if you're like me, 90% or more of the time, the problem is really not a conflict with other people. It's a conflict inside myself as the angels of my better nature are at war with the flesh. And yet it's so much easier to have a war with somebody else as opposed to an internal war of the good and evil that is going on every day within the human heart and human nature. James is a wonderful book full of practical advice for living, and he doesn't give us any place to run except right into the arms of Christ, because he shows us that without truly being animated by the Spirit of God and the mind of Christ, we cannot manifest the behavior which indicates true faith. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. Visit me on the next edition of the Bible. Delight in the details. Have a great night.